Hello everyone, this is POW. In this update, we're going to be talking about some big storms and flooding rains, as well as an upcoming cool down for the Northeast. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. Good morning everyone. I appreciate all the comments out there and let me know how long you actually been watching POW and where you've been watching POW from. In today's question, let me know, what is your favorite season? I know a lot of people out there have a favorite season, but I want to know yours. So I'd leave your comment below and let me know what that is. So let's look at the hazard map. This is for today, June the 8th. What we're looking at is we got some red flag warnings out here in Nevada, as well as Utah, with some pretty high winds later on this afternoon. We had a trough that's going to be lowering the temperatures in Montana, but unfortunately, that's going to bring some severe weather and some flash flood watches to the upper regions. But also that pesky upper level low that we've been dealing with for much of the South is going to be moving off into Arkansas with some flood watches, northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi today with some very heavy rain. And also they already have flash flood warnings in that region. And down to the south, West Texas, down to Rio Grande Valley, they're going to be dealing with that oppressive heat as the heat shows up down there. But also out in the Northeast today, that ridge will be shifting over. Now that's going to be parked over the Northeast. So that's going to be over Connecticut, Massachusetts, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, up here in New Jersey. But we do have an upcoming cool down for you guys later on as we get closer towards the end of the week. So let's take a look at the dew point. This is just basically a measure of how much precipitation, that's how moist the atmosphere is. You can see predominantly out west, we've got a lot lower dew points, high and dry, and that's why it's been predominantly dry out there. But as soon as you tap into that, say, 60-degree dew point, and you can see much of Texas in the mid 70s, that is oppressive dew points. It's very high humidity, and it's a little bit easier to make rain out of that system as the instability taps into that atmosphere. And you can see much of the southeast well into the low 70s here. But even Florida, it's a little bit lower, and that's why you tend to be a little bit drier down here in Florida. But we're looking at some scattered showers activity and more or less into the daytime heating of the afternoon. But well to the north, we're gonna have to be looking at where that trough of that demarcation line between the dry line and the moist air. A lot of times you can get some severe weather in that line, and that's where we're gonna be looking at later on this afternoon. We could be looking at some big time thunderstorms and supercell thunderstorms with some very large hail, if not some of that golf ball to baseball type size hail. And Williston down to Glendive, all the way to Sydney, Montana, those areas are going to be under the gun for that larger type hail. But even into Rapid City, going into Spearfish, South Dakota, yeah, you're still going to be susceptible for those larger hailstones that could be falling out of the sky later on this afternoon with these supercell thunderstorms start to fire over your region. But as we transition to your wind threat with that upper level low, as it moves across into West Texas, going into Arkansas and much of Mississippi, going into western parts of Tennessee, your main threat with that line would be your flooding rains, but also your a little bit higher wind gust with these systems. But a lot of these same areas are going to be getting the bigger hailstones. We're also going to be impacting with some higher winds and those regions, but unfortunately also some tornadoes as well, where they do have a 5% chance for a lot of those areas that are going to be under the gun for some of that large hail hatched risk zone. You are going to be a little bit more susceptible to some tornado action later on this afternoon. So all three modes of severe weather in that part of the country. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Have your NOAA weather radios handy and take all your watches and warnings seriously once those get activated. So as we go into Wednesday, let me take a look at what they call the precipitable water vapor imagery. And as we look at this, we start to see some of the browns. That's your drier air. We start to see some of the greens creep back into Texas. So we finally shut off the taps, and that instability moves well into Arkansas and much of northern Mississippi and western Tennessee. We've got those reds and purples. That's the atmosphere that's capable of those flooding rains. And that's going to be setting the stage over that part of the country as it shifts into western Kentucky, going into southern Indiana with some very heavy rains. You can actually see along the coast here in North Carolina where the water temperatures along the coast are pretty high for this time of year. And they're able to tap into that coastal energy with those little bit heavier rains, and that's why they've been dealing with some of those flood watches out in that region. But you can notice down here in Florida, it's still it's drier than what they're seeing in the southeast, so they're a little bit less susceptible to getting those daily afternoon scattered showers as we go through the week. But let's take a look at the water temperatures out here in the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico as well as the Atlantic. I mean, typically you only need about 78 degrees to have, like, say, tropical storm type of development. You can see all these areas are well 78, if not 80 degrees, and even Clearwater is approaching almost 90 degrees. So that's like almost bath water type temperature. But you can notice the temperatures along the coast. I mean, when you're talking 80, 82 degrees, there's a lot of water vapor that gets in the atmosphere. That's a little bit more susceptible as these disturbances come across. And that just adds the fuel to the fire with the rain that's able to tap into, especially along the coastal regions out here. And you can see the 79 out here in North Carolina. That's why they're seeing a little bit higher chance of rain just along the coast there, as they're able to tap into the little bit higher water vapor just along the coastal regions. So as we go into Wednesday, you can definitely see where those higher dew points are. And once we tap into that daytime heating, it's not going to take nothing on that type of atmosphere to produce showers and scattered thunderstorms. This is not like severe type stuff, but where that greater instability is along that upper level low, and that northwest flow will finally move out of Texas. That's going to be under more or less into western Tennessee and western Kentucky with those very heavy rains. And on the outskirts, we'll have just that scattered showers and thunderstorm activity in the heat of the day. And this will eventually move up into the Ohio Valley and get it into the mid-Atlantic states as we have these troughs digging down with some instability, with some big time thunderstorms. Because as we go into Thursday, we do see that developing trough digging down, and where that separation and that clash in temperatures, yes, we are going to be looking at some big time thunderstorms again in the northern part of the country, and we'll highlight those cities. But along here, yeah, that instability will shift a little bit further off into the northeast. Now that'll be under the gun for much of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, much of Tennessee by then, Kentucky. That'll shift into portions of west Virginia. That'll be the area that'll be under the gun for those heavier rains as we go into Thursday. And you can see this, what they call backdoor front, that will transition from those heat advisories to cooler temperatures filtering in into the northeast. So it's going to start feeling really nice by the time we get into Thursday time frame and much of the northeast, as we have that backdoor front sneaking down and pulling in some of that cooler air. And that's probably going to stick around for at least several days behind that. So as we transition to that severe threat, yeah, we could be the most significant severe threat we've seen all week on Thursday. Yeah, Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk. Not just that, but a 30% chance of a hatched risk with that baseball type size hail potential into Dickinson, into Bismarck, into Pierre, South Dakota. So those areas are, yes, you definitely have to be lookout and have your vehicles protected, because that's going to be some damaging hail that's going to be coming up on Thursday with some big time hail producers, really anywhere from Cheyenne to Valentine all the way to Minot. So, and I do expect this probably even could be enhanced even a little bit greater by the time we get closer to that severe threat. So definitely be on the lookout for that going to the day on Thursday. But as we go into Friday, just that instability will shift a little bit further off into the east. Now that puts those scattered showers and type thunderstorms further off into the east and much of the Carolina states. That will sneak into the Virginia and parts of the Ohio Valley, and then eventually move off to the East Coast. But back behind it, we have some cooler air that's going to be filtering in and some rain showers along the coast. Yes, we're going to have to start introducing back some rain showers in much of Washington and Oregon and even Northern California by the time we get into Friday. And that will just go into the weekend of this upcoming week with some just scattered showers, but at least introduce some rain chances back in the picture for places like Portland up here in the Northeast. But as we transition into Saturday, there's your high temperatures. I mean, yes, along the coast it's going to be a little bit cooler, but at the interior regions, that dominant ridge of high pressure, this is your 0Z. This is more or less 6 o'clock. This is your highest temperatures of the day by then. We're going into that time frame where we have the earliest sunrise this time of year, and we're going into some of the longer days of the year. I mean, the summer solstice is coming up in the 21st time frame, so that's going to be your longest day of the year. So we're getting into that time frame where we have the most daylight hours, and even right now we're getting that time frame where the sun rises earliest is going to be rising all year long. So we have a lot of heat we could deal with, and that's why it's a little bit easier to climb this time of year, because the days are longer in general. But we are going to have that cooler air sneak back in for that backdoor front into much of New England. So you are going to be enjoying that little bit of a cool down as we definitely start for the deep south into Texas. But yeah, going into Sunday, kind of the same deal. That backdoor front tends to modify a little bit. That ridge just amplifies even further. The cooler air is where the rain will be falling in much of Mexico. But overall, it's pretty warm for much of the country. The only areas that are below average are going to be more likely your northeastern states by then. But even then, those cool down temperatures will start to die off, because you've already, by that time, we'll have 3 or 4 days of it. But there's your precipitation for the next between now and say Monday. Yeah, we are going to be introducing rain chances back in the picture. This is more likely Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and much along the coast in the Pacific Northwest. Pretty dry along the Four Corners regions. We actually dry out in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas, and a lot of that instability will shift off into Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, going into Pennsylvania with those heavier rains as will continue to shift further off into the east as we go throughout the week. And it'll go into the Carolina regions, and you can notice where those little bit lower dew points are in Florida. You have a little bit less rain that you're going to be capable of. But notice the reds down here in the southern Gulf here. That is your tropical disturbance, tropical wave, your Central American gyro type atmosphere that we've been talking about for the last several days by that time. But yes, it could be sneaking up back into the southern Gulf, and so we'll have to watch what might come out of that potential feature down there in the Caribbean by that time frame. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and